Welcome to On the Right Side of History with Kansans for Life. Come with us as we connect the pro-life movement's past to present, uncover hidden or forgotten history, and its connections to the battle still raging today. Now, here's our host, Danielle Underwood.
Hi, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. I want to give a warm welcome back to our growing group of listeners to this new podcast. Today, I'm bringing members of our own KFL team into the studio with me so we can give you a preview of what's in store for this legislative session. Jean Gowden is our Director of Government Relations. She has been with KFL for 32 years and is a mastermind, is just so intelligent, brings so much to our team. We're very grateful for her help. And Mackenzie Haddix, our Deputy Director of Communications, who will be working with Jean in the Capitol and also helping us provide regular updates to you and everyone who's a part of this movement with us. So Jean, really quickly, just to kind of let people know, what is it you do for KFL? What does your day-to-day look like, especially during session?
Well, I am the voice of Kansans for Life and the pro-life movement at the Capitol. It's an honor to do that. I have the gift of gab, so it really is all about developing relationships with the legislators and earning their trust, getting them the information they need to be able to pass pro-life legislation. And so that's what I do, and I just, as I said, it's an honor to do so, and I work for the Pro-Life Kansans, and so please just let me know your thoughts on anything we're doing legislatively. I'm happy to relay any of your thoughts to the legislators and to our legislative team.
Thanks so much. And Mackenzie, why don't you tell us about your role?
Absolutely. Well, I am also blessed to work for Kansans for Life. I serve on the communications team, so Danielle and I work all the time together. My day-to-day I spend with our communications team, but during legislative session, I get to tag along with Jean and help relay what's happening at the Capitol to our supporters. And so I just have so much fun. I've been here for about 2 years, and I love it so much.
Awesome. Yeah, I know people know both of you and have seen you different places. And so it's an honor to work with both of you and really our whole team. But we want to talk specifically about what has just started, the legislative session, and what's just ahead. So over the next 5 months, our team is going to be working collaboratively with engaged pro-life citizens from across the state to call upon our elected officials to stand boldly to protect life. And you know, we have so much ahead of us, but before we dive into that, I thought it might be good to take a quick look back because we realized that we had a historic last session, and we want to make sure people realize the impact they specifically made. So, Jean, could you kind of walk us through what happened that made 2023 such an important year for the pro-life movement in Kansas?
It was really an historic year, and as Danielle said, I've done this for a few decades. We've had pro-life governors, we've had pro-abortion governors, and we've had majorities in the legislature, and sometimes not quite majorities in the legislature. So last year, in 2023 session, we did have, fortunately, a supermajority. That is 2/3 of the legislators, both in the House and Senate, were pro-life. And that was really critical because we sadly have a governor who is an abortion industry ally. And so because of you electing these wonderful pro-lifers to represent you and your concerns about life and those issues at the Capitol, the legislators were able to override 3 vetoes by the governor to enact some tremendous legislation. And I know we've talked about that in the past. Folks should know we have the funding for the pregnancy resource centers, which is awesome. And we established the Born Alive Infant Protections Act. And, of course, providing information to women who are considering chemical abortion so they know they have an opportunity with timely medical help to be able to try to save their babies if they don't want to complete their chemical abortions.
Yeah, those were 3 important victories and just amazing when we look back to see not just 1 veto override, 3 veto overrides. For the first time in Kansas history, being able to override a governor's veto on a pro-life measure. So that really was amazing. And we know that the people of Kansas were key to that being able to happen. So Mackenzie, you want to tell our listeners, a lot of them were probably involved in that effort.
Absolutely. Our people were so incredibly engaged last session, and none of what we accomplished would have been possible without our supporters. They sent over 40,000 messages using our KFL Action Alert system to their representatives, and that's one of the most impactful things is our elected officials hearing directly from us. And we're just so thankful that so many used our Action Alert system, and we'll talk about that later and why it will play such a big role in 2024. But that was a critical piece of our success last year.
Yes, such a great point. We know, so now that we've kind of looked back and remembered together just why it was such an important year, and we know that this year also will be critical because we have that same supermajority still in place. Jean, am I correct in that?
Yes, for this year, but there's an important election coming up. So I think it's really critical for folks to realize we do have 2 more years after this year of a pro-abortion governor. So we must retain our supermajorities if we want to be able to pass life-affirming policies at the legislature.
Great point. We also know just the current status in Kansas here. So we're going to be waiting a while to get our official statistics from the state of Kansas. Typically, at least the last few years, those seem to have been coming out very late in the spring. They're supposed to come out with annual statistics each year to tell us what's happening in terms of abortions in our state. And this year, in late October, there was an abortion industry allied research firm that came out and gave self-reported numbers in a special report they did that told us that Kansas was on track to hit 20,000 abortions in 2023. So that would be the year that we just closed out. So we know that this horrifying number is unfortunately rolling out as we had predicted quite a while ago. And we also know that our state Supreme Court is still ready and willing to strike down any law that it decides infringes on that almost unlimited right to abortion it created in 2019. So there are some realities that we are working within. So we know that we're going to have to be we're going to have carefully drafted legislation that can address that can work within the confines of that reality. So as we look at that, Jean, our agenda is very focused on those realities, and it's going to do what the abortion industry does not do. So why don't you talk to us about this year's legislative agenda?
Oh, I'm happy to. It is really a great agenda. We worked very hard to look at why women are choosing abortion and to address, as you said, that which the abortion industry does not do. The abortion industry merely sells women abortions. They do not offer any help for the circumstances that lead women to choose abortion. So as a result of that, we are going to be concentrating on proposals that will make a difference in the lives of these women and their babies, rather than proposals that really have no chance of ever becoming law or even saving one baby. And so we've got a great agenda, and the legislators are very, very excited about it as we've been sharing it with them. We're going to be doing things like enacting tax proposals that are life-affirming. For example, to be able to encourage more people to donate to pregnancy resource centers who are on the front lines working with women in difficult circumstances. And we're going to be getting some tax credits for people who are having families. We want to be able to help them relieve a little of their financial burden. Those folks who are choosing to have children, I think, is really incredibly important that the state does value those children.
What about adoptions? Will that be part of this?
Absolutely. We're going to be encouraging some tremendous support for families who want to adopt, but maybe have felt the financial burden is too much. So we're going to be trying to help those families out so they can open their homes to children who are in need and do that through adoption. We are also looking at some things that really would address a concern of women being coerced into having abortion, because a large number of women do report that they felt extreme pressure to choose abortion by other people. And so we want to penalize people who would coerce a woman into having an abortion. And we think it's really important for women to be pre-screened as to whether or not they are in danger of any kind of harm from someone who is forcing them to have an abortion. We want to make sure they get support if they are in any kind of danger.
Yes, victimization.
Absolutely. Human trafficking, child
Yes.
sex abuse, all of those types of things can certainly be forms of coercion, as well as financial coercion. There's people who would withdraw. Maybe it's the father of the child, or maybe the woman's parents might be withdrawing financial support if the girl or the woman does not choose an abortion. So there's a lot of different things that can go into a woman feeling that abortion's her only choice. But we also want to look at things like, in child support, because sadly there are situations where a woman is going to be alone when she has her child, and the father of the child is ordered to pay child support. That should also be something that is done while the child is still yet unborn. Because there are pregnancy-related expenses. So that will help women who may be in that difficult situation. And we also want to improve the abortion reporting, which would help us to get some great data as to why women are choosing abortions, so that legislators can address those situations, maybe with certain programs or policies to help women who feel abortion is their only choice. And once again, this is not something the abortion industry is doing. And so as a pro-life movement, we want to show authentic care and compassion for women who are in difficult circumstances and their babies.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk for a second about those statistics, because I think that it's not maybe obvious at first why that's so important that we improve the statistics that Kansas is providing. But, like you and I have talked about many times, and Mackenzie, you and I have talked about it too, the fact that we're not getting, that the legislators are not getting access to those statistics until well into or even after their legislative session is really, there's no excuse for that, considering that, this abortion industry research group can come out with very quick, and I'm assuming very accurate numbers that they are self-reporting. So, the state of Kansas could and should do the same to be able to provide accurate information much more quickly for policymakers. Is that part of this effort?
Absolutely. That's one of the critical things, is to require the KDHE, which is the Kansas Department of Health and Environment, to release in a more timely manner these statistics, so legislators can, as I said, make judgment decisions as to what kinds of programs or policies could they enact to be able to help women. And I think it's also important, too, one other measure that we're going to be looking at doing is the Ultrasound Safety Act. And this is to protect women, most especially those women who are choosing chemical abortions, because close to 60% of abortions in Kansas are done using the chemical abortion pills. So the Ultrasound Safety Act would require that an ultrasound is performed on every woman before she has an abortion, in order to obviously make sure that it's not a situation of a life-threatening ectopic pregnancy, which of course can cause the woman's death if it's not treated. So these are reasonable measures. These are things that show the pro-life movement really does have compassion and does offer authentic care for women in difficult circumstances, as opposed to the abortion industry, which, of course, as we know, is profit-driven. They make money off the more abortions that they sell.
Yeah, so true. Before we move on, I wanted to throw in there that Ultrasound Safety Act that you just mentioned. I mean, that's a protection that the FDA recommends, and actually, I believe, requires for anyone who would prescribe that medication abortion, the chemical abortion pill. So absolutely, these are reasonable expectations, reasonable things for the state of Kansas to require. So, I mean, we really are doing this. Care and compassion is so key to this year's legislative agenda. Care and compassion for the preborn baby, but especially also for the mothers and the women who are facing these unexpected pregnancies. We've got to make sure that we're there for every woman who needs assistance, who needs help, and do that in every way possible. So I think it's a very promising agenda. I think it's got so much potential to meet women where they are now, and to be able to work within the reality that we find ourselves in Kansas today, and make those life-saving decisions possible for more women. So thinking then about members of the pro-life movement and how essential they were to last year's session, we know that we're going to need them again this year, as much, maybe even more, to help move this agenda forward. So let's talk for a second then. What can we say? Jean, what do you think? Why is it so important for Kansans to be part of this effort? And how does working together in unified action, how does that impact the situation?
Well, you have to remember, legislators work for their constituents, and they really do appreciate hearing from them, whether it's by email or phone calls, or even coming up to visit on January 24th for the rally. Getting to come up and meet with your legislators in person. So that's the only way legislators know what you care about. And we work, of course, with the elected officials, but we also work with our members throughout the state of Kansas to be able to craft the legislative agenda and to be able to get these things passed and enacted. And we're obviously going to be calling on folks to help us with that. So it really is a team effort. It's pro-life Kansans, it's Kansans for Life, and it's the pro-life legislators working together to be able to continue to move forward of the pro-life movement with protecting women and babies. And I just want to say, too, if you have a pro-life legislator, gosh, they would love to have you help them with their campaign because, as I said, it's a tremendously important election this fall. And we cannot pass pro-life legislation without pro-life legislators. So we need, we and they will need your help to get them back up to the Capitol for the session next year when, once again, we're going to face 2 more years of Governor Kelly. So,
yeah, that's a great reminder.
And like we mentioned earlier, last year was so successful because of our members using that action alert system that we talked about. That's going to be such a key piece of this legislative session, too. I just want to highlight that it is so easy to use. We do all of the hard work for you. So if any member is really interested in letting their elected official know where they stand, look for our emails and look for our social media posts. They're going to be titled Action Alerts. We craft the message for you of everything we need you to tell your legislator, and we send out a notification. All you have to do is click the button that says Take Action, fill out your name, your email, and it goes directly to your specific representative. And we will not be able to pass our pro-life policies without our supporters' help. And we know they'll show up just like they always do. So
yeah, great point. I think it is really nice that we've been able to make it so easy to get involved and stay involved. It just takes a minute to do it. And then you're able to blast that email to your particular legislator, just like you were saying. So much easier than in the past years where you had to go look up your legislator and find their email or find their phone number. So it's a great way to be involved.
And we're stronger when we take action together.
Yes.
So we're just very excited to get this legislative session started. So.
Yes, we are. Okay, so we also, since I think another great thing to bring up, just to kind of put back on people's radar, is to, last year Mackenzie did some excellent legislative updates, and we started doing those on a weekly basis. You were putting out these videos. Why don't you talk more about that?
Absolutely. So last year we started these weekly legislative update videos, and we received so much great feedback from our supporters that they loved seeing them. And it started because the pro-life movement knows this very well. There was just lots of frustration within the media that they were not accurately portraying what it is that we were trying to accomplish and who the pro-life movement is. And the only way to directly combat that is to try to become the news. And so last year I started going to Topeka 2 days a week, getting to hang out with Jean, and just tagging along with her while she continues to do the direct work with our legislators, listening, doing interviews, taking notes, gathering content. And the main goal was to take the sometimes hard to understand political language that gets lost sometimes and break it down into bite-sized, informative chunks for our supporters to be able to not only understand, but then share out. And so this year we'll be doing the exact same thing. I just went to Topeka on Wednesday and recorded a video. And so that legislative video is out.
So Mackenzie, where can people find these?
So the best way to find them will be on our social media, Kansans for Life. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And then we will also be sending them out every Friday through our email communication. So if you're not already signed up to receive our emails, you can do that at our website and just click sign up. There'll be a pop-up that pops up right when you go on our website. You enter your information in, and then that's how you get those emails.
Great idea. Great reminder. Yeah. So people who are on our email list are going to be getting both your legislative updates. And like you said, you're just kind of sifting out what's the truly important pieces of information and what's more just procedure, or what's, we only have so much time to pay attention. We want to know the most important things in a quick, easy to understand format. So you're going to bring those to us, and we're grateful. And then also people will be getting those action alerts. So they'll know when is the right moment to be sending that message to my particular legislator. If they're on the fence about something and they just need they need confirmation from their own constituents that they have the support of those constituents, that's the time that we're going to ask them to send that message. So that's great. We want to make sure that we are engaged in those, and we also need to. I wonder if you could you tell a little bit about how can people. It's good that we're staying informed. It's good that we are paying attention, but what about helping to spread it? Because like we've talked about, you started to allude to it. One of the reasons we started the podcast is because the podcast and other forms of communication, we've gotten so frustrated by the difficulties getting at our message. We feel like we're even down-throttled on social media sometimes. So how can Kansans who are involved in this movement help us to spread it?
I think the best piece of advice I can give is to not be afraid. Pro-lifers are not afraid, but that applies to social media too. When we post a podcast episode or a legislative update video, don't be afraid to share it. We've gotten some feedback from supporters. We read through everything our supporters send us via email, survey responses, whatever it is. And one of the responses that we've received is that several people are sharing out these podcast episodes through their church groups. And I think that's amazing. So not only sharing our videos and content that we post on social media, but identifying who in your network of people that you know might be interested helps us out so much. So I would just say don't be afraid, and we appreciate any organic shares that we get on everything. It's wonderful.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so let's talk about the March and Rally for Life. That is coming up very soon. It's coming up on Wednesday, January 24th. And I think, last year we had thousands of people turn out for that. And that really kicked off the legislative session for us. It was this visible gathering, this huge group of people who came together, so much energy, so many people standing together saying, we are here for the long haul. We are not giving up. We are not backing down. We are standing together. We're going to persevere. And it was really a beautiful testimony, I think, to just the power of the pro-life movement. And we saw so many young people. We saw all different ages and families. So this year, let's talk about that. This is coming up really soon. So who wants to talk about that? Jean,
well,
take
I can
it.
start. Absolutely. And it's interesting because I talked with a friend who last year was his first time at the rally. He was just floored, seeing just waves and waves of people marching to the Capitol. He was just amazed. And we've got a full day worth of activities for people. We've got there'll be a non-denominational prayer and worship service at the Memorial Hall and a march to the Capitol starting at around noon. We'll be going to the south steps of the Capitol where we will start the rally about 12:15 on the south steps, outside in the cold, folks. But we are going to try to keep it short. We've got great speakers and some music, a little bit of music, and it's going to be a wonderful time for everyone to really share with your fellow pro-lifers your commitment to the pro-life cause. And the most important thing we're going to do, though, of course, is inside the Capitol. Throughout the day, we will have our citizen engagement. We're going to encourage you to get a copy of our legislative agenda, share that information with your legislators. We'll help you how to do that, let you find out where they are. And then I think it's really, really important, too, for folks to also stop at the second floor of the Capitol. We're going to be having booths from different pregnancy resource centers throughout the state who are very excited to be the recipient of some of the funding from the state that we were able to get for them last year through the Alternatives to Abortion Fund. They just want to share some of the services that they offer to women and their families through the Alternatives to Abortion funding.
And on that legislative citizen engagement piece that you just mentioned, I think it's important for us to let you all know that we will provide you and equip you with everything that you need to effectively communicate our pro-life message to your legislator. So there's nothing to fear. I know we've been getting lots of emails and things about people really interested in the speaker. And Danielle, you've been able to develop a really great relationship with our speaker. Would you mind sharing more about
I'd
that?
be happy to, yeah. And actually, listeners to the podcast, you may have gotten to hear from Tatiana Burgum. And she is an amazing woman. She's been in the pro-life movement for a long time, but she took a bit of a change in her career path and ended up working as a victim advocate for teenage victims of human trafficking. She's got a really powerful story, and I think that ties so much into this coerced abortion discussion. We have to be having these kind of mature discussions so that people understand what are some of the factors that are affecting young women and girls. What do we need to make sure that how can we better protect them from these kind of dangers?
I think a lot of people will be interested in that. And Jean, I know you mentioned last year lots of young people were at the rally. We're hopeful many young people will be there this year as well. And I just also want to say that if you're a leader of a school group, you are a student, we absolutely encourage you to come. I loved seeing so many young people last year, and we only want that number to grow. So I'm sure they'll be interested in hearing from Tatiana.
And one of the most exciting things is that you, Mackenzie, are going to be our MC this year. So there's going to be all kinds of energy, and just, we're looking forward to that very youthful, vibrant personality that you are up there at the mic. And then we're going to see a bunch of our legislators up there too. We're going to see, I think that's one of the most powerful things, is getting to see all of the pro-life legislators coming out onto the steps. And, really it's a moment for them to stand up and say, I am pro-life, and I commit to being pro-life in the legislature, and to making the sometimes difficult, if there's pressure upon them to do things that they don't believe in, that we want them to stand strong for the pro-life movement. So it's a great way for us to encourage them and also embolden them.
And all of the information about this is at kfl.org. Everything you need, the map, parking information, schedule, it's all on our website.
Yes. And also, anyone can reach out to us. If you have a question, you can do that through KFL, through our email address, and that is kfl@kfl.org. If you have any questions that you need to have answered, that's the place you can do it. So, yeah, great. So when and where, I think we'll just repeat that again. Wednesday, January 24th, that is right upon us. And the march will begin at noon and the rally at 12:15, and then we'll be done by about 1:15. It takes about an hour. It is a really exciting opportunity, and it's going to be great. So, well, anything else that you guys want to mention before we part today?
I just want to say thank you to everyone who has left such positive feedback on these podcast episodes and are constantly engaging with us. It keeps us going. I know being in the pro-life movement, it's tough, especially when you work in it every single day, but it's the most rewarding thing. And we love hearing from everyone, and we're just so thankful.
Agreed.
Absolutely. I just want to say thank you to all those who are praying for the legislative team, especially because it sometimes can be a very scary kind of a thing. Even as many years as I've done this, standing before legislators and testifying, and there's obviously we have our opposition who's fighting very hard against our initiatives, and so I just tremendously appreciate all of the prayers of support and encouragement. So,
Well, and we so appreciate you, Jean, because you are a wealth of information. I just am constantly amazed by how much you know about every topic that is part of our pro-life movement. You know so much, and we're just really grateful for you. So, and we're also very grateful for you, Mackenzie. It's like I said, we have this amazing team and we're so blessed. And the other team members who you may never see, but are in the background helping to support us and keeping everything moving in this organization so that we can continue to be the voice of the pro-life movement in Kansas. It's because of you all, you supporters, who make us the largest pro-life organization in Kansas and help us to continue to be this powerful voice in the Capitol and in the state. So thank you so much to both of you ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you for continuing to work together as a team. Thank you for everything you do. You bring so much creativity to this and just so much all around. So on behalf of Kansans for Life, thank you to all of you for joining us today. If you liked today's podcast, please let us know by hitting the subscribe button and also sharing it with your friends. If you want to stay up to date on this and all pro-life topics, visit kfl.org and sign up to receive our updates. That's kfl.org. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, now called X, Instagram, and TikTok at Kansans for Life. As we say goodbye, never forget, the pro-life movement is on the right side of history. Truth always wins in the end. We hope you'll join us next time. Thank you so much.